to the United Stand. It is Wednesday morning and this is your Manchester United news show. On today's show we have Leny Yoro and Mason Mount. Could they be starting against Ipswich on Sunday? The rumour is from a very good source that they are ready to start for Ruben Amorim. Do they get into the 11 and do they start? Been training all week now with Ruben Amorim. Is it going to make a difference for the players that have been there from the start versus the players that are just coming back from international break now? We'll discuss that. Also, Ruben Amorim steals Manchester City targets. Centre-back, Manchester United are on the hunt for one. Mark was speaking yesterday about Branthwaite. I've been banging on about Branthwaite for a long time now. I did a show on Branthwaite a couple of weeks ago and everyone was like, Beth, it's never going to happen. Looks like that could happen. But also, Ruben Amorim has had talks, apparently, with Diomande from Sporting, who Manchester City want to get, and he is one that would love to come and play under Ruben Amorim. Is he somebody that you'd want to go and get? Different to Branthwaite in terms he's right-footed, but I know he's very, very popular, very young, and has a very high ceiling. Also, another talent from the Austrian League that Manchester United are eyeing up to potentially be the successor to Bruno Fernandes. We'll talk about him. Barcelona nearly signed him and now Manchester United want him. And also other players coming back from international duty after having a very successful time. Ugarte scored, played a lot of minutes for Uruguay, is still fit, he's not injured. That's good to see. He'll be coming back. Will he come straight into the 11 considering he's flying all the way from South America and he's only just getting back now, but Ruben Amorim has worked with him before, so we might be able to integrate him quite quickly. Joshua Zirkzee as well. New role under Ruben Amorim, played number 10 for the Netherlands, and he should have scored. That same old story of Joshua Zirkzee. He should have scored. Finishing seems to be his weakest point, but apparently he played pretty well in that number 10 role. Could he get one of the number 10 spots under Amorim, with a lot of people writing him off already? But welcome everybody for a Wednesday morning show. Get all of your comments in, any super chats, any hot takes, anything you want to get into the chat, any polls you want, get them in the chat and let's make it interactive. I mean, first things first, I want to get a poll out. And I mean a poll in the chat. That's the type of poll I want to get out in the chat. I want to get out a poll on whether Mason Mount should start on Sunday. I mean, cue the comments of everybody saying, Beth, you're obsessed with Mason Mount. The fact of the matter is, he was a £60 million signing, got the number 7, was very promising, England international, and his career's kind of gone like that since joining Manchester United, which most people who join Manchester United, that's what happens, isn't it, at the end of the day? But injuries have massively hindered him. I think he's been written off because of injuries, but he's fit now, and he could start on Sunday. He's coming out from United Menace, who has been absolutely fantastic in terms of news around Manchester United, especially injury news, that Leny Yoro and Mason Mount are looking good and pushing for a start against Ipswich on Sunday. Luke Shaw can't yet play a full 90 minutes, but he could get minutes. Well, we know that Luke Shaw's not going to start. He's been injured for near enough a year. I know he came back for like a game at the Euros, but he's been injured for a very long time. He won't be fit enough to start for Manchester United. Let's cross our fingers and toes that Lisandro Martinez is fit, because he came back from Argentina with a back injury and we've not heard any updates on whether he's fit or not to play for Manchester United. We've not heard anything. We should get some news out around him very soon. If not, I'm sure Ruben Amorim will get asked about him in his first pre-match press conference. Can't wait for that. So Luke Shaw could get minutes, which means he'll be coming off the bench, which means you won't be able to start. Got to think about what centre-backs Ruben Amorim is going to put out, because he is going to play the 3-4-3. This is why we need a centre-back, and we'll get on to Diomande in a minute. That's why we've been looking at Branthwaite as well. Whether you want, obviously, a left-footed or a right-footed, I have my preference. Get your preference down in the chat and make your opinions known. But Leny Yoro and Mason Mount are looking good and pushing for a start against Ipswich on Sunday. Now, get your votes in the poll. The narrative around Mason Mount is a very interesting one. I feel like the majority of the Manchester United fan base have written him off. Now, get in the chat and let me know. Have the Manchester United fan base written Mount off? I mean, not the full fan base, but the majority of them. Have they written Mount off because of his ability or because of injuries? Because I can understand injuries, because I'm at the point with Mount where it's a fresh start under a new manager. But if he has these injury problems again, where it's, you know, one game on and then he's out for a month and he comes back for a couple of games and he's out for another month, I can't be doing with that. I really can't be doing with that because, you know, you want your number 7 to be playing football. I do think he's a talented player. I think this system fits him like a glove. I've spoken on and on and on about how good I think he could be in this system and how I think this is his prime opportunity to actually go and make a name for himself at Manchester United and get himself as an important player for this team under Ruben Amorim, under this coach in this system. He's made for one of their number 10 roles. So ability-wise, I think he's absolutely fine. I think he's a very good player, actually. Injury-wise, if we have the same issues that we've had for the last couple of years, which, let's be honest, you know, a clock strikes 12 once a day or whatever the saying is with Mason Mount, then that's when I have to think about parting ways. But apparently ready to start under Ruben Amorim on Sunday, and should he start is the question I want to ask you guys. I mean, I've got some comments in already. Should have bought Maddison in place of Mount. Maddison's one of them where when he's on it, but he's not always on it, is he? I think he's a good player, though. Shadrach says, I think it's wise to start those who did the first trainings. Mad Max says, ask Arsenal fans how they feel about Sterling Beth. Sterling's completely different to Mount. Sterling has had his career. He's coming towards the end of it. He's a lot older than Mason Mount. He's more senior than Mason Mount. They play in different positions. Dragasol says it was the role he was in before. This plays to his strengths and he needs to show it. For me, Mason Mount, he's one of them players where he's just good at everything. And that's what you need to play that number 10 role for Ruben Amorim. Like I said on the show, they are the hardest workers in a Ruben Amorim team. He runs his socks off. He's a fantastic presser. He's got great energy. He actually, when he started at the start of the season, I thought was quite important in Erik ten Hag's first few games in terms of the interceptions he made. Obviously, we've now got Ugarte in, and Ugarte is a different sort of player to Mount, but he's one of them players that's going to go and win the ball back. That's super important. He's good at set pieces. We need that. You know, he gives it and goes. He plays it simple. He's a technically good footballer. Now, is he somebody that's going to set the world alight every single week? I don't necessarily think so, but he's a very good footballer, and I feel like people who appreciate good footballers will appreciate Mason Mount. It's just injuries, and it's very interesting. And I think people are reading into things a little bit too much. Remember, you know, when you're at school and you're doing English, and you know you've got a poem or you've got a piece of literature or something like that, and the teacher's like, you know, what can you infer through these words? And sometimes you're sat there and you're like, you know, you might be overthinking it a little bit. Does, because something's green, is that really showing jealousy or, you know, pathetic fallacy because of the weather and all that sort of stuff? So you don't want to be reading into things too much. But in that training clips and the training clips you've seen of Ruben Amorim, he does seem to be quite dedicated to Mason Mount, was talking to him. Mason Mount seemed to be impressing. And he is a type of player that a lot of people who know Amorim, know his style of play over in Portugal have said that they think Mason Mount, he'll really like him. So could he start on Sunday? He's been there from the start. That is the advantage you have. The only thing is, if he did start, it's obviously going to be in one of their number 10 roles. Who's being displaced? Is it Ahmad or is it Bruno? Because I can bet my absolute life on it that it won't be Bruno Fernandes. I won't go as far to bet my life, actually, but I'd put a lot on it that Bruno Fernandes is 100% starting on Sunday. He's the captain. He came back early from Portugal. Some would call that massive dedication. I think it is personally. He wants to be part of it, wants to be part of Ruben Amorim. Obviously spoken glowingly about Ruben Amorim before his arrival at Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is going to play. The other player is Ahmad. I don't see how Ahmad can be dropped out this team. Okay, it's a new manager. It's a clean slate. You know, as good as Ahmad's been playing for Manchester United, will Amorim really take that into consideration? But Ahmad has to start. He's technically top. He's been playing fantastically. His work ethic is second to none. He deserves a start in this team. So that's how I don't see where Mount starts, to be honest, because I think Bruno has to start because he's the captain and because he's a senior player of this team. He's in good form himself, actually. And I think Ahmad has to start as well. For Mason Mount, they're the two players of Manchester United at the moment who are in the best form, had the best games probably in the last game that Manchester United played. So it's just, I don't see where he starts, but it's Ruben Amorim. He might come in and say, he's right up my street. I love the way you play football. You're going into my starting 11. He might do that. We don't know. So time will tell. But I'm asking you guys whether you think he will start. If it was up to me, I still wouldn't start him. As much as I've spoke glowingly about Mount, I 100% think he can get into this team, and I think he will get into this team if he can stay fit. I think at the moment, though, you have to start your captain Bruno, and I think Amad suits that right 10 spot perfectly. Unless he plays Amad as a wing-back, but I don't see why he would, because in that training clip we've seen, of course, it was a short one. They'll have been doing other training, obviously, apart from that, but Amad was playing as a 10, so I don't see why he changed his position. So I think Mason Mount will start from the bench, but you never know with Ruben Amorim. It's one of them where it is, as much as people won't want to hear it, it's a clean slate for a lot of players. Ruben Amorim will be walking through that door. He knows he's got to work with them set of players. You've seen the reports coming out last night. There's not going to be a complete rebuild. They're not going to dismantle the squad. Ineos are going to invest in Ruben Amorim, but they want him to work with what he's got. The last thing he's going to do is walk through them doors and say, no, yeah, you'll do. Yeah, you've got a chance, but the rest of you know. He's going to take them all at face value. He's going to say, look, work hard for me, do the right things, show the right attitude, and you've got a chance. And I think everybody's got a chance. So, he might walk in the door and say, Rashford, you know what, you look like my striker. You're going to start up front. And a lot of you guys won't like that because you've seen Rashford start up front before for Manchester United. You've seen him as a striker. You've seen him with his back to goal. And you've seen it hasn't worked. You've seen him have multiple chances at the club. And you've seen it hasn't progressed into what we thought it would be. But Ruben Amorim's coming in with a fresh perspective. He's coming in with a clean slate. Mason Mount, you guys will say, you shouldn't invest into Mason Mount. He's had so many injuries. Like, he's a good player, but he's so injury prone. But Ruben Amorim's not going to be thinking about that. He's going to be looking at training and saying, you know what, you're really impressing me. You can be part of this team. And he will give players that opportunity. So it's whether Mason Mount has done enough in his first week of training to say to Ruben Amorim, I should be starting over Amad or Bruno, because that's where his competition lies. Rob McCormack in the chat has said Team Mount. Trey Warren says, how can you say that he has any ability when he hasn't played at all for us, basically? Trey, because believe it or not, I've been watching football in the Premier League since before Mason Mount came to Manchester United. I watched Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. I watched Chelsea under Frank Lampard. I even watched a little bit of Mason Mount slightly at Derby. He's a very good player. Seen him win the Champions League with Chelsea. He was a really important player in that. I know what he's capable of. Obviously, seen him play for England as well, which he's not been doing since he came to Manchester United, but that's how I know he's got ability. But you're right, he's not done it in a United shirt yet. He's had glimmers in games, but very, very small glimmers. Finny Red One says Rasmus is also not working, might as well try Rashford. David Campbell says we will see how Rashford does, but I don't believe in him at the moment, not showing up when needed, and his goals have dried up. We've got Clinton says not much will change with the lineups. Bruno and Rashford will start even though they haven't been good enough all season. Both of them don't deserve to start. Well, you can think both of them don't deserve to start and you're absolutely entitled to that opinion, but I'm just telling you, Amorim will go in it with a fresh perspective and with a clean slate, and if them players impress him, he will start them. He's not, as much as I'm so excited for Ruben Amorim, and I think he's an excellent coach, and I think it's the right appointment. He's not me or you. He's not been a United fan for multiple years, watching every single minute, every single game, knows these players. He's a coach that is going in there to do a job. He's going to give them a fresh start. On Leny Yoro, will Leny Yoro start against Ipswich? I am going to say yes, I think he will. He's been training for a long time now. He was training on the grass for a while, wasn't he? Apparently, a lot of people at Carrington are very, very happy with his attitude to his rehabilitation, and he's done it fantastically. He's on the right track and he's ready to start. I think he will start. One, because he's been training for a long time. Two, apparently Amorim really likes him. They're the reports that are coming out, and it's easy to make these reports that Leny Yoro and Kobbie Mainoo are the players he wants to build around. And, you hear a lot coming out of training that, in his first training session, people are actually taken aback about how good he is at 18 years old. I know he's not done it in a professional game for Manchester United yet, but there's a lot of hype around him. There's a lot of expectation. And, you know, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Manchester United paid a lot of money for this player. If he's impressing in training, he's impressing Ruben Amorim. Again, another player that's been here from the start since Ruben Amorim walked through the door. I think he's got a very, very good chance of starting if he's fit enough. Put it this way, if Leny Yoro is fit enough to start on Sunday, which I think he is, I think he'll start. And not only because I think Ruben Amorim will really like him, but also because look at the system we play, the 3-4-3, and look at who's available. Martinez is a doubt. We don't know anything about his fitness yet since he's come back from Argentina. He might not be fit enough to start. United Minister said Luke Shaw can't start, but he might get minutes. So that's your two left-sided centre-backs potentially gone. De Ligt, thankfully, has come out of the international break fit. I've been very impressed with De Ligt since he came into Manchester United and his ability to stay fit as well. And I know that's sort of the norm, but in football nowadays, you know, the amount of injuries you get, De Ligt he's been stable. He's been a stable member there at the back. Maguire, not fit enough, obviously not in training yet. Lindelof, injured on international duty. And Jonny Evans, as much as I love the guy, he's not somebody that I don't think Ruben Amorim is going to exactly want to build around. Jonny Evans will say himself, he's the standing guy. He's there to do a job, and he's fantastic when he does it. And if he starts, honestly, I think he'll play well. I have so much respect for Jonny Evans, but I don't think that's one that Ruben Amorim is going to be wanting to line up with every single week, and he's going to want to start getting things going. So even if you look at, say if we say that Martinez is injured, let's say that he is, you would have to go with a back three of Evans, Yoro and De Ligt, and then you've got no centre-back, potentially even on the bench. And people say Mazraoui or Dalot could slot in there, but they're not, you know, they're not orthodox centre-backs. I think they could play there, and Ruben Amorim might well go for one of them as a right-sided centre-back, but you're already really thin on the ground in terms of centre-backs going into this system. So I think Leny Yoro will start, and can I just say, and you guys as well, I am so excited to see Leny Yoro play a professional game of football for Manchester United. And in that back three as well, I just think he's going to do really well. I'm so excited because I've heard such good things about him. And I don't want to be that person, but you do hear things. And we know how good he was. Real Madrid wanted him, but you do hear things about how he was like in training when he first came into Manchester United, and he just looks like such a promising talent. I can't wait to see him play. Scooby says, could Malacia work at Amorim's United? Well, he was playing the left wing-back role in training. Is that because we literally had nobody else? In terms of the fact that, you know, we only had 10 senior players available, so we had to go there. He didn't play for the under-21s the other night. He was training with Manchester United instead. Is that an indication that he's going to be part of the first-team squad potentially very soon, even at the weekend? I don't see a future with Malacia at United, I'm going to be honest. When he played under Ten Hag, I thought he showed promise, I thought he showed potential. I always remember his game against City and against Liverpool. I think defensively he's good. I think defensively Malacia is actually really good. Going forward, I don't think he really gave you much. And in Amorim's United, if you're going to play as your left winger or left wing back, it's more about being able to go forward. And I just don't think Malacia is good enough going forward to play that role, but you know, he might prove us wrong. And plus, when you've had an injury for that long, it's going to be really tough to come back and get up to speed, no matter who it is. So let's see with Malacia, but I don't have high hopes that he's going to be part of Ruben Amorim's squad for the future. He might play a few games here and there, but I think Malacia is one that Manchester United will be looking to sell in the summer. You have Kevin saying Mazraoui could play everywhere. Absolutely. Mazraoui up there for sign of the season for me. I seen it was like this. It was a punditry. You know when they do the punditry graphics, and it was on Instagram. I can't remember who it was for, but it was the pundits for one of the outlets, and there was like 6 of them, and they all had to pick the best signing of the season. And Mazraoui didn't get a single shout. And there was and I think like 2 of them named Savio from Manchester City, and I'm like, you're naming Savio from Manchester City over Mazraoui? I mean, Savio, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, and there's a, you know, he probably is a good signing for City, but he's not had the impact on Manchester City the same way that Mazraoui's had the impact on Manchester United. Mazraoui has to be up there for me. And people will say, you know, Manchester United are so deprived of players that actually can deliver on a weekly basis, that people are maybe over-egging the pudding with Mazraoui and hyping up a bit too much. But it's right, Manchester United are deprived of a player that is just a good player playing at a good level every single week. And I think the impact he's had on Manchester United this season has been fantastic. If we didn't have Mazraoui, who knows what we would have done? Because he's come in, he's played left back seamlessly, he's played right back seamlessly, he's played as a number 10 if he's needed to, and he delivers every single week. You know, he might even play as a centre-back in this system. Who knows? I think he'll actually play as a right or left wing-back, Mazraoui. But I think he could slot in at centre-back very easily. Such a versatile player. He's a fantastic squad member. Should Mount start on Sunday, yes or no? Get your votes in the poll. Can't quite see what the votes are saying yet. If someone could tell me the results, that would be fantastic. Keep voting in there. If there's any poll on that, or any poll that you want, get it in the chat. Did I just hear 55% have said yes? Oh my gosh, I've convinced you. I've absolutely convinced you. Honestly, somebody get me on The Apprentice as one of the sales, one of the candidates. I've convinced you on Mason Mount. Honestly, if I would have put that in a few weeks ago, 100% that would not have been 55%. And I think that also shows the shift of a new manager coming in. I get it, people are going to have the reservations about players, but you can still tell there that a lot of you guys are probably willing to give that fresh start as well. So I think that answers my question, is it because of injuries or is it because of ability? And you guys have answered it there in terms of 55% saying that he should start. I think that shows it's injuries why people are frustrated, not ability. People can see he is a good player. And also, I know some people have their own opinions about maybe other players that will start there and maybe wanting them to be on the bench, and that might be coming to the consideration. Robert McCormack says Team Mount. I think I've done that one. Let's move on to my next port of call on today's show. Keep getting your comments in. Leny Yoro, Mason Mount, will they start? But let's move on to Diomande from Sporting Lisbon. Central centre-back under Ruben Amorim, playing in the 3-4-3. Apparently, Ruben Amorim is stealing Pep Guardiola's transfer target in terms of Diomande, the centre-back from Sporting Lisbon. Would you want him at Manchester United? And we've spoken about just then how important centre-backs are to this system and how already, even though we thought we had depth in centre-backs, Lindelof, Maguire, Evans, De Ligt, Yoro, Martinez, even Shaw, 7 potential, centre-backs. Even with that, United could be struggling on Sunday. And that shows how important centre-backs are to this Ruben Amorim system. I think Manchester United have to buy another centre-back. I think we have to buy a left-footed centre-back. Diomande is right-footed, but this is the news coming out. Ousmane Diomande prefers Manchester United to Manchester City and has spoken with Ruben Amorim. According to Sky Sports journalist, Sporting Lisbon defender Diomande prefers to move to Manchester United over Manchester City at this moment in time, and he's already spoken to Ruben Amorim. The 20-year-old has been with the Portuguese side since January 2023, and his performances for Sporting have put him on the radar of a host of clubs. Right, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I watch Sporting Lisbon every weekend, but I have watched a lot more of them since I've known that we've been in for Ruben Amorim, and Ruben Amorim's coming to Manchester United. And I talk to people who I know watch more football over in Portugal than what I do. And what I have heard and what I have seen from Diomande, and what I've seen is it's not a lot, I'm going to be honest, but he is ridiculously talented at 20 years of age. And I think a lot of clubs are going to be interested in him. He's quick. He's strong, he's physical, he's good on the ball. He's basically got every attribute you would want, and he's 20 years old. I know a lot of people have spoken about Inacio from Sporting Lisbon, the left-footed, left-sided centre-back who starts off, basically dictates from the back and starts off the play for Sporting Lisbon from the left-hand side. And don't get me wrong, Inacio is a good player, and I know there's been other clubs interested in him as well. But Diomande, I think, is probably the most talented centre-back that they have, and is probably the player out of Sporting Lisbon in terms of centre-back wise, as defender, that is going to go right to the top based on his trajectory and what they've seen so far at Sporting Lisbon. Now, he did join in January 2023. He's been there for it's coming up to 2 years in January, but he won't be there for, I think, that much longer. I think there's going to be a lot of clubs that are going to be looking into Diomande. Will Manchester United be able to afford to go and get him? That is the question. Well, you talk about Jared Branthwaite and how much he's potentially going to cost for Manchester United. Diomande, I think, would probably be a cheaper option, but he's still going to cost you a fair few pounds, a fair few euros. But get in the comments down below, would you want Diomande? Would he be at the top of your list for a centre-back coming into Manchester United? I've read reports that Bayern Munich are massively monitoring him and looking at his situation. They're on the hunt for a centre-back. We all know this. They were going to go for Jonathan Tah, but it didn't end up happening, did it? They are looking at Diomande. And I think Manchester City, obviously, are looking at Diomande. He's somebody that has caught the attention of Pep Guardiola. And I think I saw a report that Liverpool were also looking at him. Bear in mind, Liverpool also wanted to go for Leny Yoro. Do you remember they were in that race, but they didn't want to pay the money? They are still looking for a centre-back, and Diomande is on their radar. So get in the comments down below, would you want to move for him? Or would you rather go for a left-footed centre-back? Jamal McFarlane says, morning, Beth. Are you going to the game on Sunday? Would love to meet you. I would absolutely love to go to the Ipswich game on Sunday, but unfortunately I'm not going. I go to every single home game, season ticket holder, but I'm not going to the Ipswich game. I'm going to be watching it from the studio with Ricky and with the forum guys. We're going to be doing all the content from the studio for you guys on Sunday, so make sure you tune into that. But cannot wait for Ruben Amorim's first game on Sunday. And if you are going, I'm very jealous, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a fantastic time. You see the first win under the Ruben Amorim era, the first win of many. So let's run the next poll. We've done the Mason Mount poll. Should he start on Sunday? 55% say yes, 45% say no. Let's do a poll. Who would you rather go for, Diomande or Branthwaite? Because Diomande is a top prospect, like we've spoken about, got a lot of potential, but he is right-footed. Interesting that he plays as the central defender in the 3-4-3 under Ruben Amorim. Inacio obviously plays on the right side. Diomande plays centrally. Who's going to play centrally for Manchester United? I think it'll be Martinez or Shaw on the left. It'll be De Ligt in the middle and Yoro on the right, is what I can see. That's how I see it. It might change. So would Diomande make sense in that aspect? I'm going to be honest. As much as Diomande, I'm really, really tempted by him. I think a left footer makes a lot more sense. Manchester United need to prioritise a left-footed centre-back. Whether that be Jared Branthwaite, let's wait and see. He's definitely high up on Ineos's list. And I actually do think Jared Branthwaite is a fantastic talent, and I would be happy if we bought him. It's just the price that puts me off slightly. I don't want to overpay. But I think we need to prioritise a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. Lisandro Martinez, as good as he is, he has had injuries. And you can't just put all your eggs in his basket. You need somebody else. And Luke Shaw, like I said, I don't count him because he's consistently injured. You can't count him as a backup centre-back. So you've got Martinez, who's had injuries for Manchester United. You need another left footer. Jared Branthwaite, don't forget, he actually can play on his right foot, and he's played on the right side of an Everton defence before as well. So there is a potential where Lisandro Martinez and Jared Branthwaite can actually both play together. You know, you could even see Jared Branthwaite, you know, on it as the central centre-back there, and Lisandro Martinez on the left in a back three together. You can play them both together. It's not as if it's got to be one or the other. That's why I think a left-footed centre-back makes more sense. And I actually do think, as much as everybody's going to throw the British bias, overpriced English, Jared Branthwaite makes a lot of sense. He's young, he's 21. He wants to come to Manchester United. He was willing to come to Manchester United in the summer, which is obviously always a big bonus. Everyone should want to come here. He is homegrown, so he fits that quota. He can play multiple positions. You can play him and Martinez together. And he's left-footed, so it gives you that left-footed centre-back to add into your squad, to bolster your squad. You've then got Lisandro Martinez and Jared Branthwaite, 2 top left-footed centre-backs. You've got Leny Yoro and De Ligt, 2 top right-sided centre-backs. And I know obviously we play a 3 in there, but they can all play together. And we're probably going to... Do you think Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof will both go next year, as well as Johnny Evans? One of them will end up staying. I think Maguire will end up staying, which I'm okay with. I think he'll work in a back 3. I think he's got a good mentality. And he's shown he is actually good enough to be a squad player for Manchester United. I think Lindelof and Evans will be the ones that leave at the end of next year. So that's why I think we have to prioritise a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. And I think Jared Branthwaite does fit the bill. It's just how much Everton are going to charge us. And if not, we'd probably have to look elsewhere. But I do think, sometimes you pay for what you get. And Jared Branthwaite does tick a lot of boxes for us. I wouldn't, like I've said, 55 million is where I'm like, that's the cut-off for me for Jared Branthwaite. But I think Everton are still going to try and ask for 65, 70, which is obviously ridiculous money. A lot of people saying go for Inacio instead. I'm not 100% sold on Inacio, but I've not seen as much of him as I've seen as Jared Branthwaite. I know he's a good player. Get in the comments down below if you would want him, because some of you will probably have watched more of him than what I have. Danny Rodriguez says Diomande will have that connection with Ahmad, as they are both from the Ivory Coast. Savage says Diomande is a good player, nothing against him, but we need to buy upcoming English prospects. Jared Branthwaite is injury prone. He has been injured at the start of this season, but I wouldn't say he's injury prone, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. You have Danny Rodriguez says his central position doesn't matter if he's left or right-footed. I mean, it's not the absolute end of the world, but if you're looking to bolster your centre-back department, you want to be going for a left-footed centre-back, considering what we've already got. Yoro, De Ligt, I think they can both, even Martinez, I think they can all play as that central defender. But I think what suits them most is, I think, left side suits Lisandro the most. I think right side suits De Ligt or Yoro the most, and I think De Ligt or Yoro can also both play centrally, but realistically you've only got one left-footed centre-back in Martinez, who has had injuries before, because like I said, I'm not counting Luke Shaw because of his just never fit and available. Tracy Hicklin-Taylor, a member for 17 months, says, Beth, I don't know about The Apprentice. You should work for United. Can get you on that board. Great shows. Can't wait for Sunday. Tracy, what a lovely chat. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. One thing I will say is, usually if I say something on a show, not usually, but sometimes if I say something on a show, it ends up happening at United. It does end up happening. Not everything, but some things end up happening. The Mason Mount one, and people say I got that wrong, but I was saying we should go for him, then we ended up going for him. There's been a few other things that have come up, but no, I'd leave the scouts to their job. I think a lot of Onana, when I spoke about that and the De Gea thing, that ended up happening. But a lot of you guys will say that, have I actually been successful in my scouting missions? I mean, the amount of stick I got for the Onana one, wow. But I think Onana's actually come into his own now, and that's worked out. So, Mason Mount, ability-wise, I was on the money. Injury-wise, I had a bit of a shocker with that one. I was saying we should have gone for an experienced striker over Xerxes this summer. Obviously, United didn't listen to me in that aspect, but again, I think that would have been the right call, but yeah, no one gets everything right. We've got Jamal McFarlane. I've done that one. Thank you, everyone, for your super chats and all your chats coming into the comments. Vinny says I didn't read your super chat. I swear I did. Vinny. Oh yeah, Vinny Red One says, why were we quick to write off Malacia but not Mount? Sorry, I thought I'd read that one because you put 2 in. Thank you very much for your contribution. Why we clicked to write off Malacia but not Mount? I don't think everybody's written off Malacia and not Mount. First of all, if you have a long-term injury for that long, it's going to affect you. Mason Mount has had a lot of injuries, but they've been different ones. They've not been as serious as Malacia's. And secondly, I think it's because people have seen Mason Mount, play in a Champions League final, play at the top level, whereas Malacia, he showed promise, but I don't think anybody ever thought he was going to be a world beater. How old is Malacia? Malacia's 25. How old's Mason Mount? Probably similar ages, actually. Mason Mount's also 25 years old. It's an interesting chat. I just think Mason Mount has a higher ceiling, but let's see what Malacia can do. Also, going back to what I was saying before, I remember like a month before Erik ten Hag got sacked, I tweeted out saying, I didn't want Erik ten Hag to be sacked, but if Ten Hag did go, which I thought was the inevitable after the Spurs game, I thought Ruben Amorim was the guy to go for. And, Ineos ended up doing that one. So, who knows? Inside connections, inside call line. Anyway, Diomande, would you want him or not? Get the poll going in the chat. Let me see what you guys have said. I'm going to go... This is an interesting one. As much as I like Diomande, and I think he's got so much potential, he's a top talent, 20 years old. You can't believe how good he is for his age, especially playing in Europe. I'm actually going to go with Branthwaite because I think Branthwaite suits what we need more. It's like when you're in a shop and you've already got chocolate in at home, and realistically, you actually need to stock up on something else. You're all out of crisps. This isn't the healthiest scenario, is it? But we'll go with it. You've got chocolate at home. You're all out of crisps. You've gone to the shop for some crisps. That's what you need. But you see some cream eggs just before Easter time, and you think, even though I've got chocolate home dairy milk, I'd love that cream egg right now. That looks like a bit of me. But you've only got enough money for one, and you neglect the crisps, even though that's what you've gone to stock up on. You've got to be sensible. As much as I do like Diomande, Branthwaite suits more of what we need, I think. But what I would say is, Amorim has worked with Diomande before, and that could always be a factor that is looked at, and a factor that gives Diomande more of a pull. But you talk about Diomande being 20 years old. I mean, Jarrad Branthwaite's only 22. I mean, that's so young considering what he's already done in his career in the Premier League as well. Dan Harding says, we need to learn from the Mazraoui deal, not spending that amount on Jarrad Branthwaite. Well, we don't actually know what Everton are going to ask for, but we assume it is going to be a lot of money. If it was anything like it was in the summer, then it's ridiculous. But Ineos don't look like they want to give up on it. They do like him. Who would you rather sign, Diomande or Branthwaite? What are the results of that poll? Can you let me know, please? That would be lovely. 62% of you say Diomande over Branthwaite. Do you know, I've noticed this in the chat. British players, they always don't get the love from you guys in the community. They don't get the love, do they? And I think that's because we've been burnt in the past. There is British players that are absolutely fantastic that you can go and get and are very good for your team. But I just think Manchester United have overpaid on the wrong ones in the past, and that's left you all a little bit burnt. I know we overpaid on Maguire. Maguire's actually ended up turning up pretty good, but we massively overpaid for him. He was a £40 million centre-back, let's be honest. Wan-Bissaka overpaid massively. Whereas, you always are going to overpay for a British player just because of English tax in the Premier League, which might put you guys off. But there is players there that are definitely worth the money and are definitely worth exploring. There is English talent that is good enough and can take the team up to the next level. And I do think Jarrad Branthwaite would be a player that would come in and he would be a good buy to improve our team. I think a lot of you guys are worried about him being another Maguire. That only happens if we spend a ridiculous amount on him. And I'm with you guys that we can't spend too much, but there is a player there. And if you can haggle with Everton a little bit, and he's refusing to sign a new contract, he really could be the guy to go for. And I feel like a lot of people are saying Diomande because of the talent he has, and that is out there. But do we really need another right-footed centre-back? Or does Branthwaite fit more? That's what you got to think about. Super Arch says JB is more like if you want a BMW, but you get a lemon. Enjoy Writing says, I didn't like seeing Marcus at the NBA, Beth. I spoke about that on the show yesterday. I think players should be able to do what they want in the free time, as long as it's not detrimental to their career, in terms of, as long as they're not out drinking or, you know, doing anything stupid. Like, and when I say out drinking, I mean like on a bender. Like, players, they need some sort of off time. They need to be able to relax and do something. I think that got blown out of proportion with Marcus Rashford, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, that is the news on Diomande. He is a class act. He is getting a lot of recognition recently, and he's got a lot of attributes that you'd want to bring in at Manchester United. But I just think we need a left footer more. But anyway, let's move on to the next point. And the next point is the player that Manchester United are eyeing up to be a Bruno Fernandes successor. So according to reports, Manchester United are reportedly in talks to sign RB Salzburg youngster Oscar Gluck, and he could be eyed as a replacement for Bruno Fernandes. I would be lying to you if I knew anything about this player before we got linked to him. But we've been linked to him, it's a new show, I'm going to bring it up, and he's someone that I will do a little bit more research into now we have been linked to him. But this is what the research has told me so far. It's only a little bit just before the morning show because I've seen it in the news. But at the age of just 20, Gluck has been labelled as one of the most talented attacking young midfielders in Europe, scoring goals and providing assists in Austria's top league. The youngster only moved to Salzburg from his home country Israel in 2023, and he is flourishing in the Austrian football Bundesliga. In the 24-25 season so far, Gluck has scored 5 goals and provided 2 assists in 9 appearances, playing a total of 586 minutes. The 20-year-old has also represented his country at senior level 18 times during his short career. According to this report, Manchester United and Arsenal are in talks ahead of the January transfer window for Oscar Gluck. No final decision has been made in regards to his future at Salzburg, but he's understood that he has plenty of interest and his next step will become clearer in the coming weeks. So Oscar Gluck, 20 years old, in the Austrian league, only just moved there in 2023, has a lot of potential. And when I looked up this player just to look into him a little bit more before the show, apparently 2 years ago Barcelona tried to buy him, but his father told him to go to Salzburg, and you know, he's only 20 years old and he's looking very, very good in that league. Now, I think going to Manchester United and expecting him to play in the first team right now would be a very, very, very big step up. But for the money you could potentially get him for and for his potential, we know Manchester United want to keep investing into the youth. We've been doing a very good job at it. He could be one of them that we go and invest into. You know, you look at where Manchester United are going, buying younger players in different positions, players with potential, but also, you know, are on the edge of the first team. That is what Gluck could be. Because Bruno Fernandes isn't going to last forever, and you want someone that is coming up and learning under him. Gluck could potentially be that guy. And it wouldn't surprise me if Manchester United are looking into this and looking at how they could get him for, you know, a cheaper fee in terms of tapping into these talents early before they absolutely blow up. I mean, if you look at Manchester United, where they're investing into youth talents, we're doing it all over the pitch. Rasmus Højlund is a striker. A lot of people say we still need to bring a senior striker in. I think we do at the end of the season if Rasmus can't hit the heights we want him to within these next 6 months under Amorim. I would be going for Gyökeres in the summer. That's not me writing Rasmus off. I still think he's going to be a player for us, but he's a prospect. He's a young player. Obviously, Garnacho came through the youth as a winger for us. We've invested into Leny Yoro, 18 years old, centre-back at the back. You know, we are investing in younger players all over the pitch. Harry Armas coming through as, you know, a wing-back. You've got younger players. I mean, Ugarte is only 23 in terms of a midfielder, and you look at an attacking midfielder, someone that's going to provide goals, someone who's going to provide assists, a creative. You have Bruno Fernandes, you have Mason Mount. Mason Mount's 25, to be fair, and if he can get rid of these injuries, then, you know, he could be successful at Manchester United. But Bruno Fernandes, 30, 31, I think he is now. he's not going to last forever as much as he does look after himself. 20 years old, you get Gluck in. 5 years' time, Bruno Fernandes is 35. Gluck's 25. He's ready to go. That is the route that Ineos might be trying to go down. I think it's important that we do invest into young talent. So it's not someone that you would get in and expect him to play now, because I don't think he'd be good enough to come in and play now. But he's someone for the future, someone that you could be looking at for the future. But I don't know how good this guy is because I've not seen him play. And if I have seen him play, I've not known I've seen him play. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're watching Austria at some point in international football, and if he has played when I've been watching, I've not known about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's not as if I've been looking at him, so I can't say how good I think he is. I'm just looking through this report and looking at research and thinking, Ineos are looking into these different leagues and are looking into, different markets to try and find young talent before they blow up and before you have to pay a massive fee for them. Like Sir Jim Ratcliffe said early on, we're looking for our own next Mbappe. We're not looking to go in and buy an Mbappe. And I'm not saying Gluck's going to be an Mbappe, but I'm saying we're looking to get talent early and then they blow up under us as the next big thing. That's what Ineos are trying to do and looking to do. And we've been tapping into the Scandinavian market a little bit as well. I know a lot of people are thinking about talents that we could be looking at in that market, and Manchester United have been scouting in that area. So wouldn't surprise me if Gluck is somebody that is on our radar, but also, we could just be scouting him, and that's where this report's come from. And it's actually not anywhere near advanced stages yet, but he's someone that we're probably scouting, and we'll be scouting a lot of young players across Europe. But get in the comments, if anyone has watched him or knows about him a lot, get in the comments your thoughts and feelings about him as well. Ben Jones PT says, what is this nonsense about number 10s? Amorim plays 2 wingers behind his strikers. He's had 7 wingers in his sporting squad. Sell Mount, he is injury prone. Ben, that is your opinion, but the number 10s can be wingers, but essentially they are inside forwards in behind the striker. That's what they are. And Bruno Fernandes can play there. I think Mason Mount can play there. I think Ahmad can play there. A lot of people saying Cam Garnacho or Rashford play there. I'm not 100% sold if they can, but they might do. I think that's where Garnacho is going to have to find his spot. Ben, that's your opinion. Let's see what Amorim does. Oh, right, okay. This is interesting. Sarah Spur says, Chris Rigg. Chris Rigg, he plays for Sunderland, doesn't he? I have a few friends who watch the Championship, and I keep hearing about Chris Rigg and how good he is and how talented he is. That is someone that Manchester United could potentially, try and have a look at, because I'm hearing a lot coming out of the Championship around Chris Rigg. And how old's Chris Rigg? Is he around 17 years old? Apparently he's absolutely top draw, and a lot of people looking at him as the next big thing to come out of the Championship. So let me just actually quickly have a look how old Chris Rigg is. He got called up to the England team recently, obviously the youth level. Yeah, he's 17 years old. Absolutely crazy. And he was he's June as well, so he's 18 next June, so he's still really young. So yeah, Chris Rigg is someone that I don't watch loads of the Championship, but I know people that do, and I literally keep getting told Manchester United need to go and sign Chris Rigg. So he's somebody that in the chat, if you've mentioned him, I think it was Sarah, that he's someone that Manchester United should be monitoring. We've got Enjoy Writing saying the word is United are not going to buy much at all. Yeah, that is the word on the street. We heard that report on Goldbridge's show in the evening yesterday, and I just don't think the money's there, to be honest with you. Amorim is going to have to work with what he's got, but we will still invest. We've heard for the last couple of summers that Manchester United have got a limited and restricted budget, and we've still spent money. I remember when Erik ten Hag first came in and everyone said he was working with around 100 million. Then we spent 86 just on Anthony, which obviously was the wrong decision and the wrong thing to do. Like I said, you can spend a load of money. It doesn't always mean that you've bought well. Manchester United have bought badly and spent money. So you can spend less and actually have better transfer windows. But I wouldn't take it too seriously, the reports coming out that Amorim's not going to have much money, because we say that every year and we end up spending money. We will spend. We're just going to spend it more wisely, which I think we have to do. Last but not least, just a little bit on the international players that are coming back. Joshua Zirkzee played at number 10 for the Netherlands. Is that a new position he could take up under Ruben Amorim just in behind the striker. I think in terms of his technical ability, he could absolutely do it. I just don't know if he's too, I don't want to say it without being disrespectful, too like sluggish, not as, you know, not mobile, is he? He's not exactly the most mobile player. So could he play in that position for Ruben Amorim, just in behind the striker? I'm not too sure. I think we've got better options. I think Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Ahmad are all options that could, I would pick as better options over Joshua Zirkzee in that position. But it would be interesting to try him there because, you know, apparently he did do well for the Netherlands, but he did miss a sitter, which we've seen with him before. Ugarte played again for Uruguay. I think he played the full game, 90 minutes. He obviously scored a late winner. I think it was it against Colombia the other day that he scored a late winner? And he's always does really well for Uruguay, Ugarte. That'll be good in terms of getting his confidence up. I'm just worried about him being able to play on Sunday because obviously he'll be travelling back today. But I think it's enough break in between. Yeah, they played against Brazil yesterday. It was against Colombia. I think he scored the winner in the last minute, which obviously is good for his confidence. And that's the important thing. We want to see our players doing well. So everybody who has gone on international duty, which is amazing to say, apart from one player, is coming back fit and with minutes under the belt. And I think that's really important. Joshua Zirkzee obviously would have been hurt being left out of the Netherlands squad, but the fact he got to play, I think it was it last night he got to play, is important because that's going to get his confidence up a little bit. I know a lot of people have written Zirkzee off, but it is early days and I'm holding out a slight bit of hope, even though I can't see it, that Amorim will be able to get a tune out of him. And even though, you know, it is looking like a questionable signing, you always want players to do well. Ugarte's gone away and done well. Bruno Fernandes played the first game for Portugal, did well, hasn't played the second game, but he scored an absolute banger in that first game. But obviously he got suspended and he's come back to Manchester United. It's great to get him in training. It's just Victor Lindelof that is injured and it looks like it's going to be a long one. So that's frustrating, especially considering we need centre-backs. And who else? Obviously, he didn't get injured on international duty, but we're just waiting to hear on Lisandro Martinez's injury update. We've got Derek saying Inacio first choice, then Diomande, and then Branthwaite. A lot of you guys loving Inacio in the chat for that left footer. Pato YT said Zirkzee is better than Mount and Rashford. Andrew Williams said Zirkzee could be good as a backup for Ahmad, I believe. Well, you need squad players. You absolutely need squad players. Not every single player is going to be a first teamer. So whether Zirkzee can be a squad player for Amorim, time will tell. But I do think there is something there. And I think he has been scapegoated and a lot of people have gone in on him a lot. Now, he's not been good enough and he has deserved criticism, but I do think it has escalated. Let's see what Amorim can get out of him. You've got Daniel Sturridge saying, get Mark and Ricky in the jungle. It would be gold. Or what I would do to see, you know, one of them two in the jungle. I would absolutely love it. Could you imagine Ricky? He'd be like, I'm telling you, Dan James, we never should have sold him. And that's what you'd see. That's what you'd see of Ricky on the jungle. And Goldbridge, that would obviously be comedy gold. So you never know. In the future, sign them up. ITV, get on it. We've got Mian Turner saying Garnacho will always struggle if he doesn't learn the art of crossing and passing as a winger. I think Ruben Amorim will obviously be looking to work on that. He works to provide chances for his striker. So Garnacho, I think he's going to go under some coaching, which is very well needed, and hopefully he will come out the better player. I think there's definitely levels for Garnacho to go up, and he needs an arm around his shoulder. He needs some coaching, and I think Ruben Amorim hopefully will provide that for him. But look, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Just on a lot of people talking about Inacio, me personally, as good as I think he is, I would actually go for Branthwaite. But if we got Inacio in, I'd also be happy with that, but my preference would be Branthwaite, I think. Who would you rather sign? It ended on Diomande, 61%, Branthwaite, 38%, and Andrew Williams says, I've said it before, and I believe that Garnacho will suffer in this system. Garnacho is an interesting one, because like Savage had just said there, without even, you know, well, I think without proper coaching is a bit harsh on Ten Hag, but you said even Garnacho without proper coaching is already, I think Garnacho with a lot of burden on him and probably being overplayed is and not disciplined enough. He's already the top scorer for Manchester United. And it's an interesting, because I've basically heard no one speak about Garnacho in this Ruben Amorim system, yet he's our top scorer. And, you know, he's a lot of people's one of their favourite players. But people just haven't spoken about him. And I think it's because people struggle to fit him in and don't know where he's going to play, but don't actually want to have that conversation with themselves of actually, you know what, where is Garnacho going to fit? I'm like that. I love Garnacho, and I think he's got so much talent. And I think, you know, he's a player we really need to look after. And do I think he should be a first teamer every single week? No, I think his role right now is impact sub and making his way into the first team. And I think he's got levels to go up, and I think he's super talented. And I think he does need coaching. I think he needs discipline. But it's like I struggle to see where he fits in this team. But let's see. Let's see what Ruben Amorim does. A lot of you guys saying he's my left winger, he's my left wing back. He's got to start against Ipswich. Where does he start? Does he start, when you say left winger, do you mean the left inside forward or like the wing back sort of role? Because I don't think he's strong enough defensively to play that wing back sort of role. But look, let's leave it there. We've been going for nearly an hour. Make sure you hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Fantastic morning show again. Loved all your interaction, loved your votes in the polls. It's great to see different opinions. We agreed on the Mason Mount one with 55%, and then on the Branthwaite and Diomande one, we disagreed, and that's community. But look, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Hit a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Enjoy your Wednesday. We'll be back for the 2 p.m. show, and I will see you on the next one, everybody.